family and government grant the wish of our first Prime Minister. East New Britain pays tribute the birthplace of Sir Michael. And the legacy of Grand Chief in regional policy.
This is National EMTV News with Shamaine Poriambep.
Welcome. This is Sunday's news. A resolution has been reached to lay to rest Grand Chief Right Honourable Sir Michael Somare. The family and the government have honoured his wish to be buried at Kriya Heights in Wewak and not Independence Hill, the final resting place designated for Prime Ministers. This follows intense discussions between cabinet ministers and the Somare family. The announcement was made at midday today.
A unanimous decision was made as both parties, the Somare family and the cabinet, agreed to grant what was stated in the late Grand Chief Somare's will. And that was to have the late Grand Chief flown back to his home province to be laid to rest at Kriya Heights, East Sepik Province. It was a tough decision that needed to be resolved soon enough, states Prime Minister James Marape today.
There were one or two important issues that were unresolved, especially issues relating to where his final resting place will be. The family came to our meeting yesterday morning with a firm view that the Grand Chief, when he was alive, in fact, he signed a will that his resting place would be in Kriya Heights in Wewak. And the family said they would like to honor the wishes of Grand Chief. And for us as whole of government and the rest of our country, because of the status he holds as the father of our country, we had already taken decision that he would be buried at Independence Hill, but obviously subject to consultation with the family and family's approval. And so yesterday's first engagement with the family, that issue became an issue that we need to address at the very earliest. Family stood by his own will that he be buried at Wewak, Kriya Heights, site that we already, by cabinet decision, we've already affirmed that site as a site of national heritage.
Holding back tears, son Ata Somare stood with Prime Minister Marape and members of the cabinet to express gratitude for the well wishes and support resonated throughout the country.
I'd also like to thank Papua New Guinea in expressing their condolences, expressing their sympathies to the family for the loss of our father. He was a father to many more than ourselves. I am truly grateful to the Prime Minister's understanding, together with his cabinet ministers, the esteemed governors.
The family as well as the government are calling for understanding from all PNG citizens to respect the wishes of the late Grand Chief, which they will be carrying through in the next couple of weeks.
He's iconic, he's an institution in his own right, and he deserves a special place. His word, his will must also be honored even in passing. And I felt totally insignificant to stand against his will as one person, despite holding the chair of Prime Minister. And so I have no right to tamper with the father of our country's will. We collectively decided that his will be honored. Cabinet has affirmed that whatever decision we take today stands, and I announce to our country, he will be laid to rest at Somare Museum at the Kriya Heights Hills in Wewak.
For helping us reach the decision where after so many years of service to Papua New Guinea, I can take my father home to rest.
The family also indicated that the body of the late Grand Chief is not in a state to make a nationwide tour.
The family has indicated that the body is not in a state in which we could do a national tour.
A tentative program for the funeral will be released in due course. Annette Cora, National EMTV News.
NCD Governor Powers Parkop was direct whilst giving a tentative rundown for residents in the national capital of the public house cry. It will be hosted at the Sir John Guy's Indoor Complex starting tomorrow, marking the public holiday. He urged all residents to move about in a calm manner and that utmost respect be given to the Somare family to mourn the passing of their father.
The program for our city to start paying respect in our Melanesian way will start tomorrow evening after the public holiday at 6 p.m. We will start hosting all the guests, people, communities who will come and pay respect at the St. John Guy's Indoor Stadium. We should respect the family. Grand Chief has given his life to the public, 50 plus years, given his entire life to the public. Now at this moment, we must respect the family. They need to grieve on their own. And so I want to appeal to everybody in the city, those who are coming from around the country too, do not go to the house at 4 Mile, at the hill. The place where everybody should come is in the St. John Guy's complex.
The Right Honourable Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare spent his early years of childhood in Rabaul, East New Britain Province. He was born in Rabaul in 1936, while his father was serving as a policeman during the colonial administration. The people of Rabaul, although deeply saddened by Sir Michael's passing, they are grateful for this piece of history connecting them to the child who 39 years later would become PNG's first Prime Minister.
It was raining heavily on the 26th of February 2021, with dusk fast approaching and both the East New Britain flag and the PNG flag, though drenched in the downpour, still flew half-mast at the Rabaul district headquarters. People here have also received the news the country was dreading and slowly coming to terms with it as the dark clouds quickly pulled out the night canvas. A flag flying half-mast is a sign of respect, mourning and salute. Rabaul district is where the Right Honourable Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare was born, where he spent the early years of his childhood. They too grieve his passing. An emotional member for Rabaul, Dr. Alan Marat, grieved in his own way when he heard of the passing earlier that day.
Belbrook, Belcry. I were up and down. And after that, I posted something in our opposition WhatsApp group where I expressed, perhaps that was the wrong place for me to express our sympathy.
Like many from his district, he is grateful that Grand Chief Sir Michael's life began in Rabaul.
Very wise man. As I found him, I served in his cabinet when I was the Minister for Justice and the Attorney General. In cabinet, I was the principal legal advisor to a lot of the issues that were raised in cabinet. I found in him wisdom, and he was a great man. Big Palaman Thomas, he was rightly known as the chief of his village, chief of his district, his province, chief of this country, the Grand Chief of this country.
In all village gatherings, a minute of silence was observed before any order of business, paying respect to a great chief. Residents in East New Britain also shared their thoughts.
Grand Chief for East New Britain, I think, got history, like he was born here. And I think the people of East New Britain, I think, die belongan, I think, imitation people. I don't think about the new generation, but got some lapun man will be sabating. I can still recall that I've been born in Rapine Hospital. Lorabal, from Rabal, Matupit. I think it's a great loss.
You may look at one plaka and hero blue, you may look la country. Some of us, me plaka up behind where me planos have struggles, we all been all for founders blow, constitution blow country, and all independence, all been kissing also on them. Nakami planos have, but me been lining through law school.
I'm Papa blow country. Tem strong na sim independence kam na now you come up for Colimusum country Papua New Guinea now ya na dai blena mosem not inside East New Britain sol working laws all country na you can call him you got one kind degree one kind sawa you walk any okata walk of life here you batinim sa lapumano sem no gat you no gat.
The passing of Sir Michael has become personal to many. The men have suggested having Grand Chief Sir Michael's body visit all major provincial towns for the whole country to pay their last respects and say thank you to a man who had the dream to unite Papua New Guinea.
Me ask him all big man, maybe national executive, or you can one day blow at the province, body by people by just pass through the town now. All man can stand up for the last time now. Or pay him last respect law, Pablo country.
We've got 4 regions in the country. Give him 4 days. 1 day law Highlands, 1 day law Southern, 1 day law Mipla New Guinea Islands. Na last play, pinisim one time, mumasena or can go planning.
Their request sadly will not eventuate as the Somare family has announced that Grand Chief's body is not in a condition to make a nationwide tour. As the mourning period commences on Monday, the national government is working closely with the family and will soon announce a final program.
On behalf of my people here in Rabaul district and my family and myself, I would like to express deepest sympathies, deep sympathies to and sincere condolences to Lady Veronica, Dulcie, Ada, Bertha, and Sana for the loss of their husband and father. I stop one time along this time.
Opposition leader Belden Nama expressed his condolence to the nation and the family of the country's founding father today. He says Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare is a father, mentor, and the one who introduced him to politics. He further thanked the government for their decision to approve 2 weeks of mourning period to pay respect.
Today, the entire nation mourns.
In his condolence message, the opposition leader spoke of his relationship with the country's founding father in his time in politics. He says Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare is a father, mentor, and the one who introduced him to politics. And he leaves a legacy that no one can equal.
And Sir Michael is a household name in Papua New Guinea. Sir Michael is the face of Papua New Guinea. Every time he goes out of the country, he represents the country in Commonwealth and in other parts of the world. Michael Somare, just his face alone, represents Papua New Guinea.
The opposition leader first met the Grand Chief as a young military officer during the Bougainville conflict. Nama was sent to prison after the conflict, but it was the country's founding father who fought hard for his release on parole and pardon. He was introduced to politics in 2007 when he stood for elections under the National Alliance Party led by Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare. The opposition leader says it was the country's founding father that laid the building blocks of politics.
But I must thank the Grand Chief, late Sir Michael Thomas Somare, for having to pardon me and recommended that I run for election in 2007, which I won. And I see him as laying the building blocks for my life in politics.
But life in politics is not always smooth. The opposition leader also spoke of the political impasse in 2011, but he is happy that he has made peace with the father.
And he has accepted me as his son. And he said, son, it's politics. And I remember him saying it. That's how politics is. And I remember him saying, I have also grown thick skin in politics.
The opposition leader also spoke of the type of leader that the Grand Chief was, adding that he is humble, faithful and a loving father. He says the founding father is never selfish and always had the country at heart. He further thanked the government for approving 2 weeks mourning period in respect to the country's founding father.
Somare was totally different. You can criticize him as much as you want, but he will still look after your district. He will still look after your electorate. He will still look after your region, regardless of where you came from. Somare was a man of Papua New Guinea. That's the difference with Sir Michael Thomas Somare. He never personalized. He had the country at heart. He had the people at heart.
Rayon Lakingu National, MTV News.
Public servants throughout the country have been urged to take time to observe the 2 weeks of mourning declared by NEC in response to the passing of the country's founding father. In a circular issued to all departmental heads, DPM Secretary Tai Sansan announced that NEC has endorsed 2 days of public holidays, which falls on Monday, 1st of March and Friday, 12th of March. Sansan says this is a special 2 weeks of national mourning and all public servants are encouraged to participate and witness the state funeral to be organized by the National Organizing Committee, but with minimal disruptions to essential services. All provincial administrations, provincial authorities and hospitals and state agencies in all provinces are also encouraged to organize their own programs to commemorate the life of the founding father. Ms. Sansan said that today's are approved public holidays and it is imperative that public servants throughout the country take time to reflect on the life of the late Grand Chief. Public servants are to take note that normal duties and essential services continue on the 2nd of March, noting the approved public holidays. National MTV News continues after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. The Pacific Institute of Leadership and Governance has partnered with the University of Papua New Guinea to offer a new training program for public servants. The Bachelor of Business Management in Human Resource Management Professional Studies program provides a pathway for public servants to continue with their degree program after obtaining certificate and diploma qualifications at PILAG. This partnership was formalized through a memorandum of agreement which was signed recently.
The Bachelor of Business Management in Human Resource Management Professional Studies was announced during the official launch of the program recently. Under this program, public servants with diploma or certificate qualification from PILAG can continue with their degree program. And UPNG as a partner agency will co-facilitate the program starting this year at PILAG's Waigani campus. This joint partnership program in training was formalized through the signing of a memorandum of agreement in November 2019 and through a selection committee set by PILAG. Selections for 2021 applicants was made based on competencies and merit. PILAG CEO Michael Barobes says this is a groundbreaking endeavor for PILAG as they have been training public servants in certificate and diploma courses. The CEO further adding that they are confident that this partnership will pave way for more partnership that will promote the human capital development of the country. Rayon Lakingu, National, EMTV News.
After half a century of politics and Pacific diplomacy, Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare has left an indelible mark on regional policy. It will be a void difficult to fill in the near future. For the Pacific leaders like Ratu Sir Kamise Somare and Sir Michael Somare laid the foundations for a stronger Pacific voice. In the Melanesian Spearhead Group, Sir Michael advocated for the inclusion of West Papua as a Melanesian community in the Pacific Island Forum and the decolonization of New Caledonia. While he maintained warm relations with Australia as an important regional brother, he fought for sovereignty and strong identity. Scott Wider brings you this Sunday's A Closer Look.
While Papua New Guineans valued Sir Michael as the founder of the biggest country in the Pacific, other Pacific nations also looked to Papua New Guinea for leadership after its decolonization in 1975. Papua New Guinea was like the other younger sibling that arrived later, but as it grew, it was sought out for support and guidance. And that guidance came through a generation of founding leaders, the generation of Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare. Sir Michael's generation of leaders drew from their cultural roots, and this ensured that Pacific diplomacy was not just something that came from textbooks, learned from political science classes at universities overseas, but from the innate wisdom passed on from their fathers and the understanding of the need for dialogue and consensus. Prior to PNG's independence, the close relations between Fiji's Ratu Mara and Sir Michael and advice from Fiji paved way for the establishment of a sugar industry in the Ramu Plains. Regional diplomacy for the Somare generation meant personal phone calls, face-to-face meetings, and agreements outside of formal conference rooms, even before signatures were put on position papers. In the Melanesian Spearhead Group, Sir Michael advocated for several important developments, among them the inclusion of West Papua as a Melanesian community that should be included in the dialogue. Sir Michael called for innovation and creativity from Pacific leaders. If they could include the Kanak people from New Caledonia, he was sure the West Papuans, as a Melanesian community, could be accepted as a representative body into the Pacific Islands Forum. Sir Michael said the UN models of inclusion provided a blueprint that could be tailored for Pacific use.
Member states of the Pacific Island Forum will need to develop new strategies, new responses, and new partnerships. We have decided that the Pacific Plan is an appropriate vehicle for this purpose. The theme for this year's meeting is delivering a prosperous Pacific. This theme should serve as a reminder that the ultimate objective of this regional cooperation efforts is to better the lives and well-being of our people.
Sir Michael also recognized that 70 years of Australian colonization had ended, but the need to maintain warm relations between the former administration was crucial for the region's health. But that didn't stop the senior statesman from clearly articulating where he stood in the undercurrent of regional politics and outside influence.
Here within, condemn the unprofessional conduct and behavior displayed towards our Prime Minister and father of our nation, the Right Honourable Michael Somare.
At times, Michael Somare had close relationships with many of Australia's Prime Ministers.
Papua New Guinea, Australia and Indonesia share common cultural ties through its border peoples, and those relations mattered at various levels. In terms of international diplomacy, he maintained close relations with the leaders of both countries, clearly articulating Papua New Guinea's position while at the same time finding common ground to move forward on matters of importance. In his second last term in office, Sir Michael's international presence was again the subject of discussion as he led Papua New Guinea and other smaller island states through the complexity of climate change discussions. For Sir Michael, global warming and rising sea levels were not just the subject of academic study. Diplomats who worked closely with him say the subject was personal. He was concerned about how smaller island nations were going to fare. If there was one thing Sir Michael's life taught Papua New Guineans in the Pacific, it was the need to sit down and talk like Pacific Islanders do, to iron out the differences, to remain independent, but to seek consensus.
Small island states are concerned about the way the bigger countries have been exercising their rights and leaving a lot of our small islands out of discussions.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. FC Genesis has claimed the title champions of the Southern Conference of the Women's National Soccer League, despite losing to NCD Hekari United 3-1 in the final match of the season proper. Genesis tops the table with 25 points, ahead of Hekari on 24 points. Huxley Lovai reports.
Top of the table clash rounded off the regular season of matches in the Southern Conference of the Women's National Soccer League, as first place FC Genesis took on second place NCD Hekari United in the final round of matches before the finals playoff. With both teams already qualifying for the playoffs, it was a matter of pride to see who was going to top the conference. Genesis and Hekari wanted to end the season proper with a bang, and the match lived up to expectations as players from both teams battled it out on the field, with exciting plays, passing and movement, and strong challenges in defense. Hekari winger Mavi Singira scored the first goal of the match, giving her team the lead 1-0. Genesis' problems were compounded when Hekari's Marie Kaipu scored 2 goals, giving her team an unassailable 3-0 lead. However, Genesis were able to pull one back through Ida Garota, who was able to score due to a handling error by Hekari's goalkeeper, bringing the scoreline 3-1 in favor of Hekari. The scoreline remained the same going into the halftime break. The best efforts of Genesis to close the margin in the second half was not enough to break Hekari's defense. Hekari coming out eventual winners 3-1. Despite the loss, FC Genesis claimed the title as champions of WNSL's Southern Conference, topping the table with 25 points, just ahead of Hekari with 24 points in second place. Huxley Lovai, Trukai Sports.
The paperwork ensuring the handover of the SPPNG Hunters from Papua New Guinea Rugby Football League to the new SPPNG Hunters board was finalized last week Sunday. 2 documents were signed, the deed of assignment and the trademark license between the PNG RFL board and the new SPPNG Hunters board.
Today marks the first week of quarantine for the SPPNG Hunters team in Australia since leaving the shores of Papua New Guinea last week Sunday. The Papua New Guinea Rugby Football League has formally signed over the SPPNG Hunters to the new established board. The signing took place while the Hunters were boarding the plane last week.
Stan Joyce, former MDSP, is the new chairman of the Hunters board. The board members are Fred Boraga and Robert Aisi, Ruth Waram, Moses Williams from SP. They are the new board, so the PNG is cutting the ties and letting go Hunters to be an entity of its own, to stand alone and commercialize. So that's the next agreement we will sign. We're calling it the deed of assignment. PNGRFL owns the branding name to the hunters. It has an agreement with QRL to participate in the QRL competition, but PNG Hunters is assigning that name to the PNG Hunters. So that is the release where Chairman Sadis is going to sign off to release it, and Hunters will take on Hunters to be the full-fledged board to run the affairs of Hunters going forward.
Sandy Saka, the chairman of the Papua New Guinea Rugby Football League, after signing the two documents, made clarification.
The deed of assignment is the QRLIC participation agreement is held by the Papua New Guinea Rugby Football League. Under the restructure, when we set up this new independent entity, the PNGRFL is assigning its license to the new entity. That's the first one. The second one is the trademark license. The Hunters brand and the trademark and the logo and everything to be the Hunters is owned by the PNGRFL. When we are assigning the license, we are also assigning the trademark and licensing agreement to the new Hunters board.
Robert Icy, a director of the new SPPNG Hunters board, who was present during the signing over of the deed of assignment and the trademark license, said this was a step forward in ensuring the dream of PNG making it into the NRL realized.
Important issue that we take on board as members of the new board to promote rugby league, and as Prime Minister said, an idea that we hope to promote towards having a team eventually on our 50th anniversary in the National Rugby League in Australia. But I think more importantly is the issues that we need to deal with today, building up the team, making sure that all the resources are available to them. It's important for us to help the team find different ways of enhancing the Hunters brand, find different ways of ensuring that rugby league is well secured here.
Freli Sukina, Trukai Sports.
PNG Football Association President John Capinato has joined mourners to pay PNG FA's last respect to late Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare, who passed away earlier this week. Capinato said on behalf of the football community here in Papua New Guinea and his position as the Vice President of Oceania Football Confederation, representing the football family in the Oceania region, sent his deepest condolences to Sir Michael and the Somare family and the people of East Sepik. Capinato said the country had known late Sir Michael Somare as passionate soccer lover. He once led an intra-parliament soccer team and was always a keen supporter of any PNG team at the international tournament. PNG FA, through the Women's National Soccer League competition, played a 1-minute silence as a sign of respect. You're watching National MTV News, the weather forecast for the next 24 hours when we come back.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports. This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
Weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. In the southern region, Port Moresby, morning rain showers and drizzles easing to cloudy periods. Daru, cloudy periods. Kerema, mostly cloudy with morning showers. Alotau, cloudy period with afternoon showers. And Popondetta, cloudy with occasional rain showers. In the Mamasa region, Lay, cloudy periods with chance of a shower or two. Medang, cloudy with occasional showers. Wewak and Vanimo, cloudy periods with possible shower or two. In the New Guinea Islands, Lorengau, Kavieng, Kokopo and Rabaul, cloudy periods with occasional showers. Buka, rain showers today. And Kimbe, cloudy with some rain showers today. In the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, morning fog clearing, then mostly cloudy with afternoon rain showers. Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, Morning fog patches clearing into cloudy periods and afternoon rain showers. Forecast for small crabs for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait to Daru, to Kiwa Islands, to Kerema, to Yule Island, to Hood Point, to Arama Coast, to Somare Islands, with waters of Finchafen through Vitias, Dampier Straits, to CSC Long Island sees 2 to 3 meters. Waters of Somare Islands to Cape Vogel and eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, with waters of West New Britain sees 1.5 to 2 meters. Waters of Cape Vogel to Huon Gulf to Finchafen sees 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters north of Long Island to Medang to Wewak to Aitape to Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian border sees 1.5 to 2 meters. And waters of Manus and its western group of islands, with waters of New Island to East New Britain and Bougainville 6.5 to 1.5 meters. Ocean focused for PNG areas. In the Coral Sea sees rough to very rough, with west to northwest winds of 25 to 33 knots, increasing to 48 knots. The Solomon Seas sees moderate to rough, with west to southwest winds of 15 to 20 knots, with stronger gusts to 33 knots towards the west. The Bismarck Seas sees moderate, with west to southwest winds of 20 to 25 knots with gusts. And the Pacific Ocean sees slight to moderate, with northwest to northerly winds of 10 to 20 knots.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by Moniplus, with you always.
And that's the news, sports and weather for this Sunday, the 28th of February 2021. From all of us here at EMTV, pleasant viewing. Bye for now.